Hello everybody, welcome to Valiant Hearts The Great War. I've decided we're going to do this game considering that the anniversary for World War I will be ending fairly soon. Also, I don't
August
know what to do.
1st, 1914. After the assassination of Prince Franz Ferdinand of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, the German Empire declares war on Russia. Because of established alliances, France is preparing for conflict. A few hours after the announcement of the general mobilization, German civilians living in France are asked to leave the country. Karl is one of them.
This is something that did happen. So he's been conscripted into the French military. Which is fairly common.
A few days after Karl was deported, the war was hungry for more and took away Emil as well. A heavy-hearted Emil was called up to fight and left the farm for Saint Mihiel. Like so many others, he had no idea what fate had in store for him.
So, as I was saying before, this game is a work of fiction, but there is a lot of historical information about it. So we'll be discussing that with the historical facts menu. But I've decided to do this because 2018, in November 2018, is pretty much the end of the 100-year anniversary of World War I, a war that was horrible, but has big effects on history. If it wasn't for World War I, many of the things that we have today, along with the entire sort of way of our life, would have been changed. But it is a war we must remember, and a war that we must never forget. We don't want a repeat of it. Anyway, on to the historical facts. We'll go ahead and read these throughout the game to get you guys more info about World War I. So, war is declared. June 28th, 1914. Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austrian-Hungarian throne, was assassinated in... I actually cannot pronounce that name every time I've tried it. I think it's Sarah... I can't say it. Sorry. As a result of the chain of diplomatic and military alliances in place, the event launched Europe into an armed conflict that, with the involvement of colonies, took on a global dimension. So essentially, because of a bunch of alliances and different pacts that we had, it sort of went like this. Germany essentially was helping Austria. I believe it was Austria declared war on Serbia, then Germany... And then Russia declared war on them, but then Germany declared war on Russia. It's actually really confusing still. But August 1st, Germany declared war on Russia. August 3rd, Germany declared war on France. Britain declared war on Germany. 11th and 12th, France and Britain declared war on Austria-Hungary. Essentially how it went was Russia declared war on Austria. Germany declared war on Russia. Because Germany declared war on Russia, there was a whole thing with alliance sort of thing. So France then declared war on Germany. It's sort of a little bit wrong. And then, essentially, Britain declared war on Germany as well. And I don't remember if it was because they crossed into Belgium yet, or if it was because of another alliance with France. Oh no, it wasn't an alliance with France. That's right. And as for France and Britain declaring war is because of the alliance with Germany. So anyway, we'll be reading all of these as we get to them in the game. Okay. So, the barracks and the regiment. Battalions comprised of a battalion headquarters and 4 companies, a total of 1,007 men in all. Companies were composed of 4 platoons, in turn divided into 4 sections, each with 12 men commanded by an NCO. Britain was slow to mobilize to the Western Front. Half its army was overseas, with a genuine fear of invasion. Infantry divisions were held in reserve in Britain and not included in the British Expeditionary Force. While conscription only came into force in 1916, voluntary enlistment was initially overwhelming, with 7,000. Wow, I cannot fucking say shit today. 750,000 men eager to show their patriotism. Actually, the other reason, it wasn't just patriotism. It was the fact that we, as humanity, sort of like to what's the word? Gloritize? That's not the word. We like to make war sound like a good thing. We always say, one of the big stereotypes is you see the world type one. Yeah, there's seeing the world, and there's obviously patriotism, but other reasons are like war makes you a man. You got to go to war to become a man, sort of thing. As for all these. Right, this is a puzzle game, so... That's Reveille.
Archie!
Now, there are collectibles throughout the games, which give you some information. There's also these diaries, which tell you more information about the character. Feel free to pause if you're more interested in the story of the game. I'm mostly not going to be focusing too much on these. I'm just telling the history of the actual war. Anyway, we also have historical facts. Here we go. German helmet. The legendary pointed German helmet. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that. A Pickelhaube? I don't know. Was used by German forces until 1916 and was then replaced by much more efficient steel helmets. The different parts of the helmet, including the point for defense against saber attacks, were adapted according to the rank, origin, and weapon used by the soldier. On some helmets, the points was rounded. So yes, and a lot of these helmets actually didn't really exist. It's kind of a myth that they were a thing. I mean, it's not a complete myth. They were real, but they weren't as widely used as we like to say.
Bravo, madam. Charge-à-vous! Bonsoir, on se coule de la flamme.
That's the French national anthem playing in the background.
My dear Marie, we are on our way to Paris. The atmosphere here is strangely cheerful. I hope that the harvest goes well. Rely on our neighbors for help. They've always been gracious and charitable people. I'll write again as soon as I get my assignment. Please kiss my little grandson for me.
At the train depot in Paris, trying to reach his regiment at Platform 21, Emile would meet the man he would soon fight alongside. The man who would come to be his truest friend.
I hope that the historical facts didn't change. Okay, good. So now we'll learn about railways. With the outbreak of war, each country was eager to dispatch its army in I can't. As quickly as possible to gain an advantage. Railways were essential for mobilization and supply. On August 1914, the British realized the importance of rail in the war effort and dispatched rail engineers to the front to build new lines. By 1917, 40,000 enlisted railway soldiers were working for the RE in France and Flanders. RE, I believe, is a branch of their military. As for this, we're going to read this in a second.
Hey, arrête-toi. J'aime pas les piclates, moi. Pas de moi, petit canon blanc.
Oh, he doesn't want wine, he wants this one.
Oh, une bonne bouteille, t'as. Let's go.
This wine's going to be useful for something. It is a puzzle game, so... No, drums. I don't know what this song is, but I assume it's something relevant. Alright, so metal nib in 1914. So it's a pen.
Thank you very much. I'm pretty. Well, listen.
So, if you don't understand mumbling, they essentially ask where he's from. He is from the United States. Now, if you do not know, or, well, you probably know, maybe, the United States wasn't fighting yet, and we didn't have a reason to fight yet. So, some of our soldiers came over from, actually, some of our soldiers, no. Some people from our country went over and volunteered for other countries they either joined the British or the Belgians or the French. And I actually, funny enough, have read a war story where the Belgians would be taking anyone of any age. So essentially the British and the French actually sort of had an age limit, but the Belgians didn't fucking care. If you were below the normal age for conscription or whatever it was, you would be accepted. But then later on in the war, more countries sort of didn't have that age restriction. Some of them took anything they could get.
August 21st,
And it was common
1914,
for volunteers to come
Emil's
from
regiment
America.
was sent to fight against the 71st German Division, led by Baron von Dorf. The general cheer of the first hours dissipated into the fear of first combat.
Bataillon! En avant! Au pas!
So, the debacle of August 1914. In the early fighting, the German army made swift progress. After invading Belgium, they marched on Paris in late August. French troops retreated en masse, and units were outflanked and repelled, taken prisoner or killed. The months of August to September 1914 marked the bloodiest periods of the war, with over 180,000 French casualties alone. The French authorities described the debacle as an organized retreat. The war to win over public opinion had begun. Now, the thing about this is, when it comes to why Germany invaded Belgium, because they weren't, as you know, they didn't declare war on them. Well, they invaded through Belgium as part of the Schlieffen Plan, which was a plan essentially to go through Belgium, and I believe it was Luxembourg, too. And the Netherlands, which I don't think existed then. I don't actually remember all the countries, but I don't know the World War II Schlieffen Plan better than I know the World War I one. Anyway, it was the Schlieffen Plan was essentially to go through Belgium into France and try and take Paris, but it got bogged down too early. By the way, these flag carriers were fairly rare after the first couple of months of battle.
Miss Marie Chillon, Private Emile Chillon, from the 150th Infantry Regiment, was wounded by enemy fire on August 21st. He has been captured by the enemy. Hopefully, you shall receive news from him soon. Freddie, originally from America, enlisted voluntarily in the French forces at the start of the war. Behind his bravery hid a man already devastated by the war's effects. A man with one sole obsession: punish those who had destroyed his life. It was at the Battle of the Marne that Freddie finally picked up the trail of the regiment commanded by Baron von Dorf.
I'd like to say that Baron von Dorf is an actual real... Actually, I probably should confirm this. I've heard the name before, so... No, I'm actually wrong. I've heard the name before, it's probably why I thought it was real. Oh, that's why. I think he is. I think I know why I confused the name. It is because Franz Conrad von Hutzendorf, which was a real general. So I feel like that this is the made up name for Conrad von Hutzendorf, which was a German general in World War One. So that's why I might have thought I knew the name. So, yes. Anyway, back to historical facts. Americans in the French Army, as I said earlier. 128 Americans enrolled in the French Army from the start of the conflict, mostly in Paris, including the poet Alan Seeger. The majority joined the Foreign Legion and took part in the Battle of the Marne. Others joined the Air Force, which later became the Lafayette Squadron. 24 gave their lives for France, including Alan Seeger. The media attention they received in the United States played a decisive role in their own country's decision to join the war 3 years later. So yes, no, that's another reason why. There's many reasons why in World War One, America got involved. This was one of the reasons. It says this is a major, but it was kind of minor. It was just it was just having family members die, fighting a war that America isn't involved in, which sort of pushed it a little bit. We'll also talk about the Battle of the Marne, which was pretty much, I believe, was the first battle in World War One. I believe there might have been some skirmishes, but Battle of the Marne was the major first battle. Drawn up long before the war, here we go. The von Schlieffen Plan, which is just known as the Schlieffen Plan, aimed at swiftly overrunning French via Belgium and northern France. After the August debacle on September 6th... Oh yeah, August debacle was the first one. Sorry, my bad. September 6th, French troops turned to face German troops in the decisive Battle of the Marne and prevented the capture of Paris. The battle was the first time Franco-British forces managed to halt the German advance and thwart the main German battle plan. The front retreated northwards and stabilized in December, when trench warfare began in earnest. So essentially, trench warfare hasn't begun yet. People started digging in not long after this battle. What are these ones? Machine guns and capture the flag. We'll talk about those in a minute then. We'll go ahead and just go over the diaries real quick. Again, pause if you want to know about the story. I'm just going over more of the history. And I decided to do this game also because I don't have to write really long papers talking about it. Shoot. Dang it. I just realized there was a collectible down there. Alright, this looks like a good part to talk about machine guns. Machine guns. The Great War demonstrated the technical progression of the age, symbolized by the machine gun. World War I devices could not shoot up to 200 bullets before requiring cooling, and were perfectly integrated into infantry attacks. German machine guns deployment in the front line gave them a vast superiority at the start of the conflict. Yes, there were some machine guns at the start of the war, but they were fairly rare. It wasn't until much later that you see them. Oh, hello. There's a collectible here. Let's learn about this, shall we? German cartridges. German 7.92mm Mauser cartridges. The diameter of the German machine gun ammunition was standard whether used in light Maschinengewehr, I believe it's how you pronounce it, or heavy Schwer, I don't know how to do that one, Maschinengewehr, SMG essentially. The same diameter was used for the standard German Army issue Kar98K rifle, only the C96 pistol used by officers was the smaller caliber 7.63mm. I believe I need this grenade later, that's why I grabbed it. Damn it. I think I need to... Oh, I see where I need to throw that, actually. Is that an artifact right there? No, it's not. Alright, there we go. Embroidery. Household linen was precious and was often customized with embroidered initials. Contrary to received ideals, embroidery was not an exclusively female pursuit, and many POWs embroidered during captivity. Oh, interesting. I did not actually know that. Alright, well, we're about to capture the flag, so... Capture the flag. Flags were powerful symbols for each unit, and once captured, became trophies. When overrun, soldiers took the time to hide or bury them before being taken prisoner. With the arrival of trench warfare, flags disappeared from the battlefield, and only made an appearance at military ceremonies away from the front. As I said, you saw flag carriers less as trench warfare became more of a thing. Also, because why the fuck would you carry a flag in a battle? Unless you want to get shot.
Thanks to support from British forces, the German plan failed. The front line moved back to the north, and with the arrival of winter, froze. Soldiers holed up amid a vast labyrinth of trenches and tunnels that would become the indelible image of the Great War. Karl's regiment retreated to the outskirts of Neuve-Chapelle, the same camp where Emile was being held prisoner.
Los voor de braadwesten. Hinterhand mellet.
Okay, 6 million prisoners of war. Between 1914 and 1918, over 6 million men were taken prisoner, including 1.2 million Germans and 20,000 British troops. Let's say 20,000, 200,000 British troops. Despite the 1907 Hague Convention and the efforts of International Red Cross, prisoner conditions and forced labor proved harsh for conscripts, and hundreds of thousands never made it home. So yes, there was forced labor. Most of it was actually like working on stuff. I don't actually know if they would have people cooking people's dinner, which is what you're about to see. But yes, there was forced labor as a POW. 1 second, my gosh. Okay. So we'll go ahead and just finish it up here, and then we will end it. Alright, so we need to grab this, I think. Oh, wait. Hang on.
What do you mean? Huh? Cow! Cow! Marie, est-ce que ça va?
Dearest Papa, we live in a climate of uncertainty. Germans use the people of Saint-Mihiel as human shields against the French bombings. I hope the Germans treat you well, and that your wound has healed. Your grandson sent you kisses. I sent you a picture of him. All my love. Please write soon.
Adieu, Cloud.
Photo frame. Even though photography was not widespread, many soldiers had their photos taken before setting out for the war. Professional prints were developed on photo paper and applied to a hard backing to prevent tearing. Some photos were directly printed as postcards, especially group conscript photos. Letters. The mud. Okay, so we'll do letters. Letters remain the only means of communication with the outside world. Radios and telephones were only used for military ends. All soldiers wrote to their loved ones back home, as war correspondence was free of charge. This created logistical and financial problems. 10 billion letters and postcards were sent to and from the front during the war. The early war postal system was chaotic, but then the front was then separated into sectors, each with its own postcode. The visit from the military postmaster was eagerly awaited. Yes, so one way we know a lot of information about World War I is due to these letters. It is a lot of these letters were, of course, to families. Some of them were in between generals and stuff, but it was it's the main reason we know a lot about World War I from the people who fought in it. Fought and died in it is due to these letters, and it's due to these letters that we can learn from this war to never happen again. So, anyway. A lot of this story is based off letters, not, of course, not actually real, but based off letters. Oh, right, okay, hang on. I get it. Water, and then fire, and then weenies. effects. Considering that we're now in the Battle of Neuve-Chapelle. I believe it's pronounced Neuve, but I know it's Chapelle. Neuve-Chapelle, March 10th, 1915, so it's been a whole year in this war. British shells literally rained down on German forces. For the first time, the technique creeping barrage was used. A barrage where the fire of all units targets the same position for a period before advancing one line at a time. The infantry advance was synchronized at the safe distance behind this barrage, so that German lines could then be overrun. That day, 530 cannons fired over 216,000 shells. That is to say, one shell per weapon every 2 minutes. I really wish I wrote these, but no. I wanted to read it.
What? Papa. C'est bien, c'est bien.
Not going to discuss these tunnels yet, because most of these tunnels are discussed later. So what's over here? Might be stuff. Yes, there is a artifact. So, Valiant Stories content, remember, lace tightener made by Corporal Lucien de Formental, great-grandfather, been altered from a melted-down cartridge case. Lucien served as an electrician in the Searchlight Division, whose mission was to illuminate enemy positions. Many thanks and congratulations to our winner. Oh, okay, so this story must be from someone who entered World War I info about a story that he has. Alright. I thought it was going to be actual info about the item, but okay.
Hey, what? Oui, bon. C'est bien, c'est bien.
Looks like we got another trinket. Crucifix. The majority of soldiers believed in God, and some wore symbols of their religion. War offices had to make provisions for different religions, and a variety of religious ceremonies was performed at the front by different faiths. Priests, Lycars, and rabbis offered succor and compassion to soldiers. Muslim soldiers from colonies were organized into separate battalions for practical reasons, and their beliefs were also respected. Hahal food was provided, as well as Muslim funeral services. Another one. Compass. Soldiers used compasses to gain their bearings in open countryside. They were used in conjunction with the HQ map. Orienteering was a reserve of officers and non-commissioned officers who issued soldiers with decorations. So we still use compasses today, if it isn't obvious enough. Why is my digging not working anymore? That was weird.
What? Au pied.
The British troops continued their attack on Neuve-Chapelle. Their next objective, take back Port Arthur.
Regardez, il y a eu de mal, Barbara. Sir. Yes, sir. Come on, boys, let's go.
Okay, in the early 20th century, Great Britain and France governed huge colonies, huge colonial empires, and put them into use during the war. Indian troops were deployed by British in the Middle East as well on the European front, and made an important contribution to the war effort. Many victories were achieved thanks to their bravery and discipline in combat. A monument commemorating their sacrifice stands in Neuve-Chapelle, France. So I believe they're pronounced the Garchwal Rifles, which is the battalion, or I believe a squad, battalion squad, I actually don't remember, of course, Indian troops. We'll be discussing mud in a second. And here we go. Mud. Trench life was difficult. Soldiers were confronted with cold, rain, and mud. Dirty water meant that disease such as dysentery. I can't actually say that word because I always pronounce it wrong. Typhus and cholera flourished. The depth of the mud also presented dangers, and soldiers sometimes drowned in shell holes or in tunnels leading to the trenches. Just gonna grab one stick of this dynamite just in case I need it. Before we begin, we'll just go over this. Explosives. Trench fortifications require the use of explosives to penetrate enemy lines. Long tunnels were dug under no man's land beneath enemy trenches, inside with which explosives were placed. The English used cordite, a powerful explosive that could be detonated at a distance. I didn't have a chance to look at that when we were doing that little puzzle back there.
Merci, mon ami. Du Ragnar. Karl Louis von Dorf.
Yeah, comme this.
Amidst the never-ending attacks and counterattacks, Freddy and Emil hunted the elusive Baron and his regiment in Ypres.
We will end it here. We'll end it right here. I'll see you guys in the next episode. I'm actually excited to continue this series, so I will see you guys then.